Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our match reaction show. It's finished. Manchester United 1, Brighton 3. And as I was thinking, I did say this. I've been saying this quite for a long time that Brighton were going to hammer Manchester United, and that's what happened. They hammered them. It was a hammering. Yes, 3-1 kind of doesn't sound in the sense of a hammering, in the sense that it was very clinical, right? I mean, Brighton could have probably scored a couple of goals more towards the end. They been maybe a little bit better in their finishing. But yeah, it was the kind of game that I expected it would happen, where all the teams need to do now is they just need to wait for Manchester United to play around the midfield a little bit, give the ball away inevitably because of the issues that exist in the team, and then counter quickly. And as long as you have a good striker who can finish off chances, you will score against Manchester United. You can score 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever number of goals. That is it. The only time where it seemed to buck the trend was the last game against Arsenal, and I feel that. And having looked at this game, I feel that Arsenal will be Arsenal's performance looks even worse now compared to when you compare to how Brighton played today, because I thought Arsenal could have done much better in that game. Because they didn't have as many clear cut chances as other teams have, so it looks even worse. But nonetheless, that being said, that's all aside. We won't talk about the Arsenal game. The fact is, talking about this game itself, I thought Brighton were excellent. And as it says at the title, it's a De Zerbi masterclass, because for the first 17 minutes, Ten Hag kind of surprised people, because when you saw that team sheet, you thought it's going to be 4-2-3-1 with Bruno playing on the right, Eriksen at number 10, and Rashford on the left, and that's how it's going to be. But he surprised De Zerbi and he went with a 4-1-2-1-2, which I thought was interesting. And it did work quite well for a long time, because you had McTominay playing a little bit higher, further forward, which is where he's pretty good. And then you had Bruno playing as a number 10, which I thought is his best position. And then you've got the two split strikers. The issue was, for 17 minutes it worked, and it worked really well because Manchester United had control of that midfield, because they had 4 midfielders versus Brighton's 3. They could control that midfield, and the fact that, of course, Brighton were missing 6 players, so maybe there was not that fluidity right off the bat, and so they maybe needed a little bit of time to adjust. But once Brighton got an idea of what Manchester United were doing, they knew exactly what the game plan was, and this is where De Zerbi was a masterclass, because he understood where the gap was. The gap was behind the fullbacks, right? Because the fullbacks in a 4-1-2-1-2, the issue is always that the fullbacks have to provide a lot of width. So what you need 2 midfielders who are very, very good defensively. One of them is probably an out-and-out CDM, and the other one is someone who can go box to box, but really is more of a defensive player rather than a forward player. So you need those 2 midfielders. United has Scott McTominay, he's just not a very good CDM, and Casemiro for some reason has completely lost his form, completely lost his fitness. He doesn't look good out there. He looks his age, basically, and that's never a good idea, or never a good thing for a player. And so every time the fullbacks bomb forward, the 2 midfielders had no idea how to control, and cover the spaces that were being left behind. So they kept getting overrun on the wide areas, and that meant that the defenders kind of split and the midfielders kind of split, and so that opened a lot of gaps for then the strikers and the midfielders to run into the box unchallenged, unopposed, and that's how the goals came. When you look at that first goal that was conceded, it was Reguilon who was caught high up the field. Dalot on the other side is high up the field. So Martinez goes out to the left to cover for Reguilon going out. Then Lindelof has to cover Martinez. So he goes towards the left side, and that leaves a gap in between Lindelof and Dalot where there's nobody. And Casemiro or McTominay should be picking up Welbeck, but nobody picks him up. So he just goes in. Lallana does well because he dummies and feints. And Welbeck has a tap in, and it's 1-0. And again, same thing, same sort of on repeat for the second goal as well. Again, same thing again. It's gaps that are left behind. Brighton play around a little bit at the back, then they play the ball forward. It comes out, it goes out to the wide areas. Ball comes into the center. Pascal Gross is there, scores. It's 2-0. And again, same thing repeat. Probably a little bit, the third goal you could probably say mitigate a little bit by saying that United were trying to attack a lot, so there were more gaps that were opening up. But again, it's same thing. Crossfield pass goes out wide. It goes to Mitoma. Mitoma puts it, cuts it back for the onrushing fullback. Everybody's out of position. Ball comes in. Pedro scores. It's 3-0. That's how it was. It was like watching a game on loop, and there was no idea what to be done. And Ten Hag, I think, didn't want to change it. I think he was afraid that if he went to a 4-2-3-1, it would probably get worse. Maybe so. I don't know. But the reality is that it worked for 17 minutes, and then Brighton just figured it out, and we're like, yeah, this is not going to work. This guy has no idea what he's doing, so let's just keep going after it. And they went after it, and that's just what it is. So it was sad to watch from a Manchester United fan perspective, but you got to give it to Brighton, and you got to give it to De Zerbi, because he sussed Ten Hag out, and I tried to catch him out by surprise. And maybe if they had scored a goal in those opening 15 minutes when they were really on top, maybe things could have changed. And I always say this, right? It's all looks great when you're like on top and you're doing really well, but unless you score a goal, unless you make that dominance count, it means nothing at the end of the game. And it means nothing, and nobody will remember those 15 minutes, because they'll remember it's the 75 minutes that followed it and how bad that was for Manchester United. And it was really bad. The goal from Hannibal was good, but it was like a speculative shot that sometimes goes in, sometimes it goes over. It was one of those things. Still could have done better. But it's 3-1. It doesn't really, 3-1 actually flatters United a little bit, if you ask me, because I think the performance didn't warrant them getting scoring a goal. But there was a moment of controversy. Now, the goal that was scored by Rasmus Hojlund was a very good finish, by the way. I've got to say the finish was really, really good. No one will talk about that, but the finish was really good from Hojlund. Was that ball out of play? Now, when I looked at the first angle, I thought that's out of play, right? But as they zoom in more and more and more, the ball looks more and more in line. But it looks like there's a small part of the ball that's in line. It's very difficult for me to tell. I thought it brought back memories of the Japan-Germany game, as it must have for a lot of people, where there was like a portion of the ball that was like touching the line. It wasn't necessarily all over the line. I thought, the more I look at it, the more I thought it isn't clear. It isn't clear that it's gone out. It looks in. But my instinct was they would give it as out, because the first angle that I saw, it showed me that it was out. And I just felt like that's what they were zooming on, like, but they kept zooming in on that line and to say it's out. And I just felt that they were going to put it as out. I didn't even celebrate that goal when Hojlund scored it, because I was like, this is going to be ruled out for it being out. I just had this instinct that it was going to be out. I'm not a predictor or anything, but it just felt that way. And when they showed the angle and the way, the amount of time that they took, because when it's a goal, right, they don't take a lot of time to give a decision. They take more time when they want to not give a decision. I think I've noticed that with VAR quite often. They want to, when they want to overturn a decision, they take a really long time to look at it. And I think that's what happened with this one as well. I thought, yeah, they're gonna rule it out, and they did rule it out. I don't think it should have been ruled out. I think it should have been given as a goal, and I will say that. I don't think that is the reason why Manchester United lost. It could have changed the game, but at the end of the day, even if they had scored, I think Brighton probably scored. Would United have scored more than the 2 goals? Let's assume they scored that, and Hannibal scores his goal. Would they have really scored more than 2 goals? I don't think so. I think Brighton could have scored 3, 4, 5, whatever they wanted. So I think it changed the game, but I don't think it necessarily impacted the result. But that being said, that was the wrong decision. Another one that has gone against United. There's been a lot of bad decisions that have gone against Manchester United. Nobody will talk about it. People talk about Howard Webb FC and VAR, Manchester United, and all that crap. The reality is United are having more. At the moment, Manchester United are having more decisions go against them than for them, and that is something that nobody's going to talk about because it's Manchester United. But I have to mention that it was the wrong decision. That being said, United, the loss for Manchester United is not necessarily because VAR screwed them over. I think there's lots of other factors. And I think I've got to say, Ten Hag, he did well for the first 60 minutes, and then his stubbornness not to change, that is a big issue. Why is he being so stubborn? Why is it that he cannot seem to change things when they're obviously not working? I have no idea about that. And there's 3 players that I talk about, because I really don't want to make this a Manchester United rant. I might do one later, but I really want to keep this about the game. But there's 3 big issues now in terms of players. The number 1 issue is Casemiro. I am not sure what is going on with him, but he does not look the player that he was last season, and I have no idea what needs to change there, because the people talk about obvious ones, but I thought that is a big issue with Casemiro. Like, what exactly is happening there? In fact, there's 4 now that I've thought about it. Actually, the second is, for me, is Lisandro Martinez. Actually, Casemiro and Lisandro Martinez. Lisandro Martinez, after I don't know if it's the injury, and it could very well be that he's coming back from a serious injury, but he has not looked fully fit since preseason, and he still doesn't look fit. He doesn't look up to the pace. I mean, that second goal, so much indecision between Lindelof and Martinez. Somebody's got to say, I'm covering that. I'm getting to it. I'm not letting that ball just loose. But they both just stare at each other, and it just, it's just comical defending. And and even some of the passes were not right from him. He hasn't looked good, and I just feel he needs, again, he shouldn't be playing right now. If United brought a proper centre back in, you could have rotated between Varane, Lindelof, Martinez, and the 4th centre back. The problem is the 4th centre back is Harry Maguire. The 5th centre back is Johnny Evans. You won't start those 2 in game. You shouldn't be starting them in Premier League games. So he has to start, but he doesn't look good. And I don't know if he's going to be fit until probably the second half of the season. So you're going to play with a half-fit player for the first half of the season, because you don't have a choice. And I don't know how good, I don't know how much damage that will make. It's a problem. The third issue is someone I don't think people will say he's an issue, but for me it's an issue, and it's Marcus Rashford. I think Marcus Rashford for me is an issue because he's a good player. Now, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a bad player. He's a good player, but the problem is he's so one-dimensional. He's so one-dimensional. So what do you call it? He's good at what he does, but it's only one thing that he can do. And he's so selfish every time, selfish, running down the line. Even the ball that went out, he probably could have crossed it a little bit sooner for Hojlund, but he waited till he could get to the byline because he always tries to see if he can cut back onto his right foot and get shots away rather than trying to find players and passes. In the second half as well, there was a chance. I think just before the second goal, there was a chance for him to kind of cross it to Hojlund, but instead he chose to shoot on his left foot. He's trying to shoot at the near post when the goalkeeper's got that covered, and he tries to shoot instead of making a pass around. I just don't know what's going on with Marcus Rashford. I just don't get it, And the problem is he can't be dropped because he's such big wages. Then apparently likes him. He's not going to be dropped, and I just don't, And he's I think he holds the team back. His one-dimensional play holds the team back. I know this is a controversial opinion, but I'm going to say it out here. I think he holds the team back because every time he plays, it just looks like United's one trick is to try and play the ball in behind on the left hand side so Rashford can run onto it. Play it every time they keep looking for him. They kept ignoring Hojlund many times as well for his runs because they want to feed Rashford in behind, and at times Hojlund also kind of got I've got to play to Rashford, so he plays it to Rashford and hope that they can do something. That just isn't going to work. And teams will suss that out. And yes, he will make some good runs and he will get some good chances. He's not a very clinical finisher either. So if he was a clinical finisher, at least you could understand that you keep playing him in. But he doesn't finish chances often. So teams just, it's going to work sometimes, and he's probably going to get 20 goals this season. But he's not the player that's going to drag Manchester United through games like these when they need them. And he's not someone who's going to be a serial trophy winner. The fourth issue, and I think this is the biggest one that is there, it's Andre Onana. And I'm sure that a lot of people are going to talk about this. Onana, for me, I'm sorry. That third goal, I can give him a pass maybe for the first goal. I thought, okay, second goal, maybe, third goal, I just like, yeah, this is not going to work. He's got to save that third goal. Probably should be saving that second goal as well. He's giving me Claudio Bravo vibes. Let me just put this out. I think he's giving me Claudio Bravo vibes. And I'm sure somebody might have mentioned this on Twitter, but he just looks like a player who's very good with the ball at his feet. He's very good with that, but when it comes to saves, he's just so average. He's painfully average. He made, somebody said, I think towards the end of the game, he made a save. He actually almost let that one come through as well. He just got lucky that the ball went the other side, because that very well could have got underneath him and become a goal as well. So his saving is pretty bad. Unfortunately, he's good with the ball at his feet, but as a goalkeeper, your first priority is always to be someone who can save goals, and he doesn't seem to be able to do that. He seems like a very poor shot stopper. And I've got to say that. Now, that being said, some people will say maybe De Gea should not be let go. I don't think so. I think letting De Gea go was not the wrong decision. De Gea had to be let go. The problem is they've replaced him with someone who's very, very average when it comes to shot stopping, and that's going to make De Gea look better. It's going to make him look better because everybody's going to be like, oh, why was De Gea let go? But remember one thing about De Gea, he's still a free agent. Nobody has signed him. Real Madrid needed a new goalkeeper, they didn't sign him. Bayern Munich needed a new goalkeeper, they didn't sign him. Inter Milan needed a new goalkeeper, they didn't sign him. 3 top clubs needed a goalkeeper this summer, and none of them went for a free agent. So I don't think that was a wrong decision, but I don't think Onana will be the answer. I would like to see how Binder is. I've heard a lot of good things about him. Hopefully he will play in the League Cup game and we'll get to see how good he is. But at the moment, I'm worried about Onana. I just don't know where he's going to go. Anyway, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's a win for Brighton. They played really, really well. And I think that's something we have to credit. I have to credit that. I'm going to say that. And just remember, Evan Ferguson wasn't playing. Joao Pedro only came on in the second half. They're also missing Estupiñán. They're missing Enciso. So a lot of good players were missing for Brighton. I can only imagine what would have happened if those players won the pitch. And it's a problem. And now the big issue for Manchester United is they've got a game against Bayern. That one they're going to get battered. Bayern are going to batter them. They've just come off a very, very frustrating draw against Bayer Leverkusen. They're going to be charged up. Harry Kane is going to be charged up to be playing for Bayern in the Champions League. They're going to be at the Allianz Arena. They're going to get hammered in that game. That's going to happen. The Burnley game is now a critical one, because if Manchester United lose that game, and there's a very good chance they will lose that game because it's against a promoted team away from home. United always seem to lose those kind of games. They will if they lose that game, or even draw that game for that matter, but definitely if they lose that game, I mean, I don't see. I mean, the Ten Hag out brigade is going to be there. The media is going to have brickbats ready. The Glazers, there's going to be a lot of Glazers out stuff, and when that happens, the deflections will start. That is the manager, it's not us. We spent 350 million euros and all that. There's already talk about that. That's coming out, and I will talk about that maybe later on. But it is not looking good at the moment. And Ten Hag's body language, for me, his body language suggests that of a man who knows his fate is sealed. He almost, even when he was sitting there at 3-0, he was sitting down and he was just looking at his man, at his coaches, going, "What am I supposed to do here? What do you want me to do? What are we going to do?" He doesn't. I've said this consistently throughout preseason. His body language, he's not dynamic as he was last year. His body language suggests that of a man who knows he's not going to be at the club for very long. Almost that he's resigned to his fate of knowing that no matter what he does, he cannot change this. He cannot turn this club around. Like, it's almost that air of resignation, and he's just waiting for his pink slip to come. Whether it will come or not is a different matter, because I don't actually, you know what, I should also mention this. Can Manchester United afford to sack Ten Hag? Do they even have the money to pay him off? Probably not. Or if he does get sacked, they'll probably have to bring in like an interim, like a Solskjaer or someone like that, because I don't think they're skint. They have no money to really do anything. So there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of things to worry about for Manchester United. If you're a United fan, I think just maybe, disconnect from football for the next week or 2 weeks or whatever, because I just don't see how it's going to get any better. It's going to get a lot worse. The worst part is I just don't see where they're going to win a game. The only team right now that I would back Manchester United to beat are Luton. In the Premier League, the only team I would say that they can beat. In fact, of all the upcoming games that I know is going to happen, the only one that I can say for certainty that yes, Manchester United can win this game is Luton. Now that doesn't mean they won't win any games and they'll lose the other 19 to the other 18 teams. That won't happen. But I just don't see. I just can't predict that yes, they will win this game. I just can't. I just don't see them winning games. They will win them, but it's going to be tough to see them. It's not guaranteed. That's the point. It's never a guarantee. And with Manchester United, that shouldn't happen. They're going to struggle to make Conference League. At this rate, they're going to struggle to make Conference League. Forget anything else. They're going to struggle to make Conference League. Anyway, I'm going to end the stream here, because in a fight over Manchester United, we can talk for hours and hours and hours. So I will end the stream here. It's been a great day of Premier League action, by the way. A lot of good comeback wins. So maybe we'll talk about that as well at some point. But hope you enjoyed this. So smash like for Brighton. Smash like. They were brilliant. I mean, let's be honest. They were brilliant today. Just did everything right, and everything, worked so well for them. Tactically well done. Can't say good things about them. Somebody said that they could be title contenders. I don't think I don't think they're title contenders, but I definitely think they are top 4 contenders. I definitely think that. And I'd be surprised if they were out of the European spots come the end of the season. Definitely should be at least in the Europa League spots. And you know what? If I was Brighton, and if the Europa League was working out favorably, I would try to win that as well, get into the Champions League through that route as well. So yeah, lots to be excited about if you're a Brighton supporter. If you're a Manchester United supporter, just close the doors, shut the doors, don't watch games, because there's just nothing. There's nothing to excite. Anyway, smash life for Brighton. As I said, do share your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the game, what you thought of the performances. There's a lot of things that I want to talk about in Manchester United, but I don't want to make it like a rant, so I'm just leaving some things out. But share in the comments what do you think. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't disagree with me. Maybe the VAR call was right, maybe I was wrong. Let me know. Always love to hear from you. Do subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're getting close to 410 subscribers, so please do subscribe. And we do